everyone. Thank you for joining us on the Nikki Maduro Show. I'm Nikki Maduro. She is the beautiful Kim McAllister.
You're so nice.
Click that thumbs up button and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a moment. Kim, are you tired of living in extraordinary times, historic moments of politics and things we've never experienced or seen before because it continued and continues this week? But this time
Nikki.
on the
Yes, I am tired of this, Nikki. Yes, I am.
Can I just live in ordinary times instead of extraordinary times?
Where everything's already been done before and there's no historic moment being met. Absolutely.
Or at least if it's a historic moment, it's like the good historic moment, like never
First
in my life
female
before.
President.
Something like that. Yeah, well, not
exactly.
Mexico, that's for sure. But yeah, so we are living once again in historic times. This time, it's the Biden's turn for the historic moments because Hunter Biden's trial has begun. Jury selection. It's going to start, the rest of this week. We're going to be doing this. I just want to start off by saying, one, it was the First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden's birthday on the first day of this jury selection. She stood there kind of not a la Trump, right? Family, everyone is supporting. Here's my question to you. First, how much do you care of a guilty verdict in Hunter Biden's case?
Hunter Biden's not the president.
Thank you. And you know what? If he is accused of doing something that seems pretty easy to find him guilty of, he lied. He was a drug addict and signed a form for a gun when he wasn't allowed to because he was a drug addict.
Yeah.
This is my thing, Kim, and this is what I think is going to give. And I'm not saying he's going to get off, okay? Because I think that if all of the facts that I know him hold up, he should be found guilty. I don't know what kind of sentence it's going to have. But here's the difference. I think a lot of the jury understand drug addiction, and having someone in their family that's addicted to drugs and does stupid ass stuff, right? Like the storyline here of, oh my God, my drug addict son lied. Yeah. Show me a picture of every drug addict, not excusing it. I just think it's a bit, there's the drug addict, average guy kind of complications, what happens to a lot of Americans. And then there's, lying and paying off hookers. They're two totally different type of things. So
my question is this. Trump's whole thing of, with all his different court cases, when all the laws he's broken and all the crap he's done, is that, I'm being persecuted by the Justice Department and the Biden administration and President Biden is behind it.
Yeah.
Right? He's coming after me using the Justice Department and weaponizing it. Well, if that's true, then why is President Biden's son in court too?
Right.
Because if the Justice Department was something that we could use at our whim to target our enemies, then wouldn't it follow that we could use the Justice Department to let people get off scot-free if they were our friends?
Exactly. Like it's similar to rigging the last election, because believe me, if Democrats were rigging the election, McConnell wouldn't have been there. So you think it's just Trump? We wouldn't have wanted in office. I mean, it intellectually, people that aren't part of the MAGA cult understand that, right? Like if we really are going to rig the system, we would actually rig it. It wouldn't be just the presidency.
I think Trump accuses people of doing things which he has done or would do.
It's the projection. Yeah.
And if he could rig it, or if he could use the Justice Department as a weapon, he would. And has a really hard time understanding why common, decent, normal people would not take the steps of a, basically a criminal.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to play a little bit of a news report from ABC News. And again, this, Hunter Biden is facing serious charges. There was a plea deal. It fell through. People were up in arms about the plea deal. I think that had a lot to do with it falling through. And again, I'm going to say this. If Hunter Biden, from the facts that we know, is found guilty, I'm totally fine with it. Like if you can't do that. It's against the law to do what he's alleged to have done. So, it's that's what it means to not be in a cult, is that you're like, yeah, you did it. You did the crime. You do whatever time or punishment it is. Here's a little bit of a news report on the Hunter Biden trial from ABC News.
Day one of jury selection in the trial of Hunter Biden, the first time the child of a sitting president is on trial. Hunter Biden arriving at the federal courthouse in Wilmington, Delaware this morning, the First Lady Jill Biden walking in minutes later, then sitting in the front row as potential jurors face questions including their knowledge of the case, any personal struggles with addiction, and their thoughts on gun ownership. One juror excused after telling the judge gun ownership is a God-given right.
You're just dismissed because it's a constitutional right. It's not God-given. I highly doubt that God would be behind that, but let's continue.
Dismissed after saying it seems like politics is playing a big role in who gets charged with what and when.
I think for the defense, I want to see, are they looking for an empathetic juror? I also looking to the government in terms of their prosecution and saying, hey, if you just follow the documents and you follow what he says, are you going to convict?
Hunter Biden spending the weekend in Delaware with his father. The president not in court, issuing a statement saying in part, as the president, I don't and won't comment on pending federal cases, but as a dad, I have boundless love for my son, confidence in him, and respect for his strength. Hunter Biden faces 3 felony charges related to buying this gun in 2018. Prosecutors say he was abusing drugs and accuse him of checking a box on an ATF form stating he was not actively using illegal narcotics.
Okay. Not saying it's not serious. There's reasons why we have these laws. We don't want drug addicts to be armed. Okay. But let's just understand how those charges have zilch, nothing to do with President Biden. Right. Nothing at all. There is no way you could spin this MAGA to make it so this is a Joe Biden case.
There will be Biden has pleaded not guilty and has been public about his struggles with addiction.
I've made mistakes in my life and wasted opportunities and privileges I was afforded. For that, I'm responsible.
The jury is now seated. It took the entire day to do so. Remember, this is a small state and home to the president, so people knew about the story.
Yeah. So, it's a serious crime. It's a felony. He's facing 3 felonies. I get it. But it's not as if he's found guilty, that is in any way, shape, or form have anything to do with Joe Biden. And I think that that's going to be, Kim, the thing with this jury. Finding a sympathetic jury, I don't think it's going to be hard to find somebody, honestly, that isn't touched by drug addiction in some way.
There will be people that say, oh, well, they look down through their nose and say, if he's a drug addict, Hunter, must reflect poorly on the family, or it must reflect on the father, right? Which I would say there's so many people that have a family member or relative that has struggles with addiction. You know it doesn't reflect on the family.
Exactly.
You know it doesn't. I also think that in this particular case, Hunter Biden may go to jail or have a stiffer penalty than other people that have done the same thing, just because the spotlight is shining on him.
Well, or it won't. I mean, it could go either way, right? It could be kind of like, Hunter Biden's problem is that, he has a history of drug addiction, right? Yeah. He has this history of, doing drugs, and he doesn't have a good reputation. I'm not saying Donald Trump does, okay? Mm-hmm. But one of the reasons why Donald Trump may not and likely won't face a day in jail or prison is he has no criminal record. When you are a sentencing judge, you are looking at past behavior. Mm-hmm. Hunter Biden has a dark history because of his drug addiction. Yeah. He's also facing 9 federal tax charges related to alleged tax evasion, could give him 17 years. This current trial having to do with the gun, it's expected to last 1 or 2 weeks. He could get 25 years in prison. And again, if he does, then that is the punishment that the judge has doled out. What I don't want to do is to go into this whole, oh my God, the only reason they're doing it's a witch hunt, this whole like Trump, narrative that he loves anytime there's a consequence for his actions. No, Hunter, you wanted a plea deal that fell through for a variety of reasons. And now you gotta, pay the piper with this sort of thing and see what a jury does. But I am hoping, Kim, it's not going to be a circus. I do think it's a bit rich that President Biden is walking down the street and people are shaming him as if anybody could be responsible for the actions of a drug addicted relative. Good luck. No matter how good of a parent you are, if somebody is in the throes of a drug addiction, it can be extremely hard to get through to them. No matter what you do, picking up the phone when your drug addicted son calls is not, a conspiracy, right? It doesn't make Joe Biden's hands dirty. It means when his drug addicted son calls him, he picks up the phone because who knows what's going on the other end. And that's scary for anybody, let alone a senator, vice president, president, whomever. Any parent out there would be so sad. and so scared about what's going to happen to their kid. So I don't know.
Jury selection yesterday, continuing today, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. Now on to obviously the fallout of and we'll continue to touch on the fallout until former President Donald Trump is sentenced, of course. Stormy Daniels was giving her reaction. I don't know if you saw this quick video. I want to play a little bit of it. Her reaction to the sentencing. I think everybody was kind of surprised, like, oh my God, it actually happened. Something stuck to Teflon Don, right? Here's what Stormy Daniels had to say.
I don't think Trump understands anything. Like he
Oh, I wanted it to be louder. Let's see. Let me see if you can hear it.
no, he's lost complete and utter touch with reality. I mean, I don't think, and you're right, financially, it's like when you have a child and sometimes taking the electronics away work. But if your child is very artistic, they don't care. They'll just go color in their coloring book. And then you have another child that, they don't want to go outside. You got to ground them, or like take away electronics, or like don't let them have dessert. You're absolutely right. You have to find the punishment that not just matches the crime and is fair and just, but that impacts that particular person.
Yeah, you hit them where it hurts. Every mom knows that.
Exactly. But what do you do for Trump? What do you do for Trump?
Their favorite thing. What's his favorite thing?
Freedom. Well, but again,
money.
He keeps
His
paying
favorite
all
thing
those
is
fines.
money.
It didn't stop him from violating the gag order, Kim. It didn't stop him from doing. So is it money or is it freedom? Is it, I don't know. I think he is pooping in his panties if there's even a possibility that he's going to spend a night in jail. Can you gold toilet germaphobe Donald Trump having to go into the slammer? I mean, not that he would be in Gen Pop or anything like that, but he is just a normal American citizen. He's not. He is a former president, though. So I definitely don't think that they would throw him in with just anybody.
No, they can't, because the Secret Service has to
Exactly.
monitor his safety.
Exactly.
Like, it's going to be all special. But he's been saying, like, if I am sentenced to prison, my supporters won't stand for it.
Well,
like, they'll reach a boiling point, as if to say, if they sentence me to prison, you guys need to come out into the street. You guys need to protest. You
Another
guys
dog
need to get
whistle.
violent.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Although the polling, and you know how I feel about polls, but the polling's not looking good. Here's CNN's on kind of the reaction to the sentencing.
As a felon, Trump cannot own a firearm or serve in a jury, but he can vote for himself, as he can run and be elected president. But we are clearly in uncharted territory, and it will be some time before we can fully see the impact of the conviction. Our new CBS News poll finds that 57% of Americans think the jury reached the right verdict, with virtually the same share, 56%, saying he received a fair trial. As more evidence of the partisan split in America, 96% of Democrats said the guilty verdict was the right one. So did 56% of independents. But 8 in 10 Republicans say the verdict was the wrong one.
Shocking.
And that the trial was not fair. Finally, half think that Trump is not fit to be president now that he's convicted, with 40% saying he is and 8% unsure. What you just heard Trump say about the case coming from Washington is not true. Charges in this case were brought by the Manhattan District Attorney. It is a state case, which means an appeal would not automatically go to the Supreme Court.
This whole idea of bringing in the Supreme Court is so ridiculous. I hope they don't even entertain. I mean, again, it's just like she just said, Margaret Brennan, it's state charges. Just the fact that he wants to send it to the U.S. Supreme Court should tell you everything you need to know about what he thinks and the power he thinks he has over the U.S. Supreme Court. And I know I shouldn't be, Kim, but I am constantly still surprised at how the GOP is still falling behind Trump. I just don't get it. I was talking with our friend Chip Franklin and this other gentleman that he's a psychiatrist, kind of Shrinking Trump is the name of his podcast. And he was just basically saying that this is just how he is. This is how those that follow him view it. There is always an excuse. There is always a reason why Trump says what he says, does what he does, and why what he has actually done is okay when it wouldn't be okay for anybody else.
I look at him as opposite day. Whatever he says, it's the opposite.
That's the opposite, exactly.
The flip side is true. Whatever it is that's spewing out of his pie hole, it's the exact opposite. It's really distressing to me that not only Trump, but House Speaker Mike Johnson have both called for the Supreme Court to get involved in Trump's legal issues. And Mike Johnson even said, I know people, like he knows people on the court. Well, that is not the way America's supposed to work.
That's not the way. It's supposed to be checks and balances,
You're standing up and saying, we need to cheat, is what I hear.
Yeah, pretty much.
When you say that, that's what I hear. It's not going through proper channels. It's not the case going from place to place to place in an appellate court to this court to that. It's not that. They're just saying, we have friends in high places and we're going to call on them.
Yeah.
And that's cheating.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, let me tell you this story, which pops up.
Oh, please.
This from Huffington Post, and the headline reads this. Multiple Trump witnesses have received significant financial benefits from his businesses and his campaign. That witnesses in various criminal cases against the former president have gotten pay raises, new jobs, and more. If any benefits were intended to influence testimony, that could be a crime. Here's another criminal case. Are you trying to influence the jury? Are you trying to tamper with witness testimony?
Well, what does it specify which witnesses had benefited? Because on one hand, if we're talking about the people that Donald Trump surrounded himself with, then we know like a Michael Cohen was on the dole. Obviously, he's not getting paid off by Trump because he was working with the other side. But I mean, if the witnesses that Donald Trump used are people that worked with him, I think it would be kind of hard to prove that it wasn't just a promotion. I've worked with this person before, that sort of thing. But I wouldn't put it past him.
They say it is hard to prove.
Right.
Legal experts say this will be hard to prove, but they say so far 9 witnesses in the criminal cases against former President Trump have received significant financial benefits, including large raises from his campaign, severance packages, new jobs, and a grant of shares and cash from Trump's media company. So, okay.
That's crazy.
The benefits flowing out from Trump's businesses and his campaign committees, according to ProPublica. One campaign aide had his average monthly pay double from $26,000 a month to $53,000
a month.
Another employee got a $2 million severance package, barring him from voluntarily cooperating with law enforcement. And one of the campaign's top officials had her daughter hired onto the campaign staff, where she's now the 4th highest paid employee. Now, this is all from Huffington Post,
right?
And they don't name the people. But they do interview a legal analyst who says that it feels shady, especially if you detect a pattern like this. I would worry about having corrupt influence. This is Barbara McQuaid, former U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Michigan. But she said it's really hard to prove. Hard to prove this kind of stuff.
Of course, because you can't. I mean, you can if it's obviously a quid pro quo, those sorts of things. Like if you can prove it, but those are hard to prove. Like I was up for the job, I have a history with him. It just so happens, it's kind of like what Clarence Thomas is accused of doing, taking all of these trips and I'm just friends with the person. We live in the same circles. What do you mean? There's the appearance of impropriety. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? We're not morons. And that's the thing that I think is another symbol and consequence of Trump is the gaslighting. Remember CNN would always have the chyron that said, we leave the gaslight on for you, because it was just this constant, we know what you're saying and doing. Yeah. We know, but you're just going to continue to gaslight us into thinking that we're crazy or we're the deep state or we're what's the problem with Washington, when you are literally creating and projecting the things that you're actually doing. And so, I wouldn't put it past him. It'd be a long shot. I think the best thing is obviously next month, Trump's going to get sentenced. We'll see whatever that is. Now going back to Hunter Biden, of course, a guilty verdict for Hunter Biden and then whatever sentencing that is. I feel like for some reason, it's going to be this like albatross on the president's neck just because it's his son. When again, a drug addicted relative does all sorts of shady crap. And I don't see why it should. But then again, I don't understand why people think that Biden and Trump are the less, two evils. Are you insane? Are you the gaslighting, again, going back to that's happened for so many Americans, thinking that Biden is the worst thing that's ever happened to this country. blows my mind so much. I literally can't wrap my mind around it.
We saw the poll numbers you showed just a moment ago, and it looks like they're going kind of in the right direction, but still, even that shocks me. It's like, who's voting for that guy?
Yeah.
I don't even understand. I was trying to find this meme that I have and get it up on the screen in time, but I can't make it happen. But I will tell you what it says. It's got a picture of Clarence Thomas, and it says, "This dude has been bought off so much, we need to start calling him Clearance Thomas instead of Clarence." That's pretty funny.
It's very true. There's speaking of funny things that I've been seeing, I have this one video I want to show you now. And again, we'll continue to talk about, Donald Trump, the Speaker, Mike Johnson, like you mentioned just moments ago, saying, I know people on the Supreme Court. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Those sorts of things are what undermine our democracy so much more than I think anything that actually Trump did. It's the people that prop him up that really send the message to the rest of America. Like, we cannot be trusted, but we'll continue to talk about it. And also, later this week, Trump's going to be in the Bay Area for a fundraiser, $300,000 a person.
Don't you want to go?
$300,000 per person. They won't say where it's at, although eventually we'll find out.
But oh
my God.
Put on by a couple of techies. I think one of the former founders of PayPal, another high-profile tech guy.
Makes me not want to accept PayPal, but we will accept PayPal. But it's just like, oh my God. Again, the amount of money, the amount of support that former President Trump, convicted felon, former President Trump, is getting is insane. But I saw this on Twitter and I kept laughing about it. One, this guy, Aaron Fritchner, is the one that posted it that I saw it. I was going to read you the headline before I show it to you. They're like, "So sorry I was slow responding to your email. I was tied up watching this over and over again." And so I click it and it took me a second to realize what I was watching. And then I could not stop cracking up because I feel like this is what us sane people are doing the entire time. The GOP try to sell us a load of BS that Trump is the victim of some sort of witch hunt. Here we go.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to address the terrible precedent set in our country 4 days ago. Using the justice system to engage in a politically
that little kid
now conviction of a major political party nominee running for president, especially on the charges
like no one's listening
Donald
to you,
Trump,
Rose.
should gravely concern every member of this body as well as
it gets
every
better.
American across our country, whether they be
if you're listening and not watching,
Democrat,
it's a little redheaded kid making faces at the camera.
Against him.
Doesn't really matter what Rose is saying. It's all BS.
The current Republican
but then
nominee,
wait, it gets so good right here.
Well served to remember the long and cherished tradition we have in this country of settling our
Nobody cares what this guy is saying. Everybody is focused on this
rolling
kid.
his eyes, sticking out his toes.
He's so funny. But again, I feel like that's what all of us are like doing and thinking in our head. It's like, yeah, blah, blah.
And an overall
and he sits here talking about justice and everything like that. And you are so effing full of it.
Does
because
he
the
even
minute
realize? Do you think he knows and he's just he just doesn't care and he's out for himself? Or do you think he's so brainwashed that he actually believes the crap he's trying to sell?
Or he's like being threatened. The only thing I would give respect for is actual like threats against, harm to my family or something like that. Like I could respect, I still think then just quit, right? And then speak out about it, record it, prove it, do something like that. But the kid in the background making faces while this guy bloviates over and over again about the nonsense that Donald Trump, billionaire Donald Trump, needs to take your hard-earned money to fight his criminal, trials is insane to me. But if that's where you want to spend your hard-earned money, knock yourself out. There you go. All right, that's our show. You guys, please click the thumbs up button. Show your support for the show. It's easy. It's free. It really helps us out. We are always looking for new subscribers. So share the show with your friends. We really could use every single support. Patreon is one of the number one ways to financially support the show to ensure that we do keep this show going. Just go to theNikkiMadoroshow.com. Our Patreon link is right there. So many of you have emailed saying, I like PayPal better. You know what? We like PayPal. Go to PayPal.com. hit the send button and put in the email address, thenikkimadoroshow@gmail.com. Every single dollar helps. If you could bump it up every time a month, we would appreciate that as well. And also support our sponsor, Auntie Tabby's Island Flavors. Perfect for summertime. They have a hibiscus hot sauce, a pineapple hot sauce, and a guava barbecue sauce that you need to get. It is delicious. We absolutely love it here on the Nikki Maduro Show. And if you use the coupon code NIKKIM, NIKKIM, you get 10% off every single order.
It's going to be really hot today.
Oh,
the
yes.
temperatures are rising.
This week,
so
yes. Perfect barbecue weather. Don't start your oven.
Exactly.
Do not start your oven at all.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, we will talk to you tomorrow. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You're sprout like a beautiful person. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow.